So now, as I say, this is going to be, we're going to have an imaginary line right here. Now, we do live in an eighth note world. All the rock and roll, etc., contemporary sounds are eighth notes, 16th notes, but eighth notes. So the upbeat is just as vitally important as the downbeat. Everybody has to know how long it's going to take to get from one beat to another. So the and of the beat is vitally important. Therefore, we're going to have an imaginary line up here. So the upbeat will touch that imaginary line. Now you notice this is all modification of classical background that I had. This I applied, I modified this over many years of absolutely working under any conceivable condition you can imagine or dream up. And believe me, it works. But like any classical foundation on any instrument, you can't replace it. It's the best training in the world. Then you modify it. What the hell? All your great jazz players, for the most part, all had classical background. Once you get this background, then you do whatever you want with it. But the foundation is there. I'm giving you a foundation that works because it is based on classical approach. There are certain rules that can never be broken in conducting. You cannot. I want you to listen to this very carefully. There isn't a musician in this world that has ever played in a group where there was a conductor or a leader of some kind that hasn't at some time turned to the person that's sat next to them and said, "Where's one? Where the hell is one?" Watching the leader. So that's every musician's quest in their whole lives. And I want you to have neon lights inside your brain that will say, "Where is one?" Because that's everyone's quest. Players will just say, "Just show us one and we'll play it." But we've got to know where one is. Now you're going to train, you're going to see, I'm going to be training different parts of your brain, like little computers. One part of your brain is going to learn to never lose one. It will automatically, always know where one is. Because, for instance, that click thing, he doesn't know the difference between 1 and 12. We'll say that's 1 right there, 2, 3, 4, right? So it goes on and on. Now there's a part of your brain that's never, we're going to train it to never lose that. So an older, wiser musician told me many years ago, it doesn't make any difference what happens during the measure, but be there at the beginning of the next measure. In other words, if you find 1, never lose 1, you've only screwed up one measure. Not only that, the players must know where one is. So all these little computers, there's another one's going to keep track of measures. Another one's going to be time. All these little things are going to have to go on at the same time. Anybody remember where one is? We just passed it. That's it. And it's funny because I stopped thinking about it. It's just that I decided where one was and my little brain started going like that. There it is, right? And that's one of the things you're going to learn. So now, in learning in your body to learn where the tempo is, how to feel tempo, so you're really doing it right. Now, the ands of the beats are very important because of the, as I say, we do live in an eighth note world. Not only that, the players have to see and know exactly when you're going to arrive at the next beat. If I go like this, you have no idea when I'm going to go to that next beat. But if I go like this, I have to wait. So here it is. 1 and 2. You can see it coming. You know exactly how long it's going to take because I'm in a continuous flow. Right? I'm going to show you two beat patterns. One you've probably all seen in the books. And I want to show you one beat pattern that is not in any book except mine. And there's a definite reason for it. In all the books, you've always seen this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. You've all seen that in a lot of books if you ever open a book on conducting. There's all kinds of those things, right? Okay, now here's another one that is of my own choosing, and I'll show you why I come up with it. It's just like a ship's anchor. Now in this case, you see, this is 1, 2, 3, and 4 is coming back up here. In this one, they're all right there. 1, 2, 3, and 4. These are the ands, the upbeats, right? Now, the reasons for these I want to show you. Now, first of all, let's talk about a basic 4 pattern. Now, using only the elbow to the tips of the fingers, the wrist in one piece, fingers freely and loosely, comfortably together like this. Also, you always want one, going to move just from the elbow, see? I touch that imaginary line, that beat point, exactly with that click, with time, right? And exactly in between the beat, bam, 1 and 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 1. Now that should be a nice continuous flow, see? And just from the elbow. That works with both hands. Here's the other thing. 1 is always going to be right here where your arms hang quite naturally, below your shoulders. So when you pick up your arms, that's great. Now, the reason for that, now we're going to get into the nitty-gritty about why I modified this to fit our situation. Sometimes you're in a studio, and as you've seen, musicians are everywhere. Now, everyone in that studio, or in any situation you're in, every musician must be able to see your signals. Now, if you were in a studio, and it's not unusual to have players over there or have players over there. If you go like this, nobody can see what's going on. But if you give 1 right here, where your arms hang quite naturally, everybody can see your signals. Right? Now, that's not to say that we do not use the upper part of the arm. We'll get to that later. Basically, it is this. Sometimes you're in a situation you can't see very well. I must raise the baton. Let's try, that's 3. Like that. Now, I'm still working from the elbow. So the idea is to avoid all those extra movements. We don't want to see any of this going on. I will not have it. I simply won't have it. It is not fair to the players. You got to realize that everywhere in this world, everywhere, anywhere in the entire world, if there's more than one musician playing, somebody's a leader. Somebody is going or something to start and stop the group. And that person is called the conductor.